Hello, Nick Dutch here. I regard this as a relatively serious video, a relatively serious message. It's in response to a video by Neo-Pagan 2007 called "The Christian Wiccan Spat." I'm kind of treating this as a video response, even though it's not necessarily a part of a debate. It is intended to be delivered to Neo-Pagan 2007. Because there's some interesting points about that particular video which I feel need to be aired and gone into. I would have typically done this at this stage in my YouTube life via the extranormal.com system, but with a subject like this, I think it's important that I deliver this face-to-face. Now, in that video, the first point you mentioned is that we should not label all Christians by what the fundies say and do. You then point out that these fundies, so to speak, are 50% of the Christian population, which we can't necessarily swear by, basically. But then you suggest that the Christians who do not follow Bible literalism aren't more enlightened. Now, this suggests it's your opinion that Christians should be tarred with the same brush as the fundamentalists. That's the implication. Although you did suggest that not all Christians were wacko, you gave no indication as to what percentage or ratio you would consider to be sane or insane, or indeed how you would define it. So we've already got a disconnect between your initial statement of we shouldn't, label all Christians by what the fundies say and do, and the rest of your statement about Christianity, which seems to be implying something rather negative about the entire political group of people called Christians. You then go on to use the gay marriage issue to illustrate your points, although I understand this is a key and sensitive issue for you. The homosexual marriage issue is a political decision and not necessarily a religious one, and by that I mean politics as is separate to religion, because religion and politics occasionally overlaps, but not to the most part. As we have no scientific way of demonstrating the cause and effect of religion on political views, your argument does not stand up and is at best a straw man. You have also not given enough information as to how well the study was conducted, giving me another reason not only to mistrust the data, but also the conclusions that you draw from the data. Your statement at approximately 1 minute 50 seconds into your video, "Do I need to say anything?" is very misplaced. To make the assumption that religion in the USA plays such a high role in political opinions, you need to demonstrate the cause and effect mechanism by which this operates, which I feel is actually lacking in your video. It's too simplistic. You then go on to say that just because a person isn't a Bible literalist doesn't mean to say they don't believe in the core principles of Christianity. The implication here is that this is a bad thing, but you fail to say in what way a person believes if they are not a Bible literalist. For instance, if a person is a non-literalist, then it is probable or possible that they are also non-dogmatic, thus meaning that they are probably mystical theists, being almost identical to much of the pagan population. And if not that, then atheists who use the 10 Commandments as 10 guidelines rather than rules. Again, making the pagans and Christians so alike as to be inseparable, apart from by political or tribal demarcation. Again, your opinion and argumentation do not stand up. You also jump to the conclusion that when push comes to shove, the non-fundamentalists would follow the fundamentalist ideas and line. Now, if this was the case, there would be fewer denominations of Christianity. Again, your argument does not stand up and is basically based upon pure prejudice. You use the motu Scotsman logical fallacy when you speak of holiday Christians, creating the assumption that Christians would be vile, prejudiced, hate-filled creatures. You are suggesting that true Christians are fundamentalists, and that the rest, who are non-dogmatic Christians, are not Christians. This is very poor reasoning indeed. You speak of Wicca losing its boundaries, when instead you could be speaking of Wicca being enriched by cultural diversity. As a homosexual man who is in favor of cultural diversity if it benefits your sexuality, I'm surprised you are against cultural diversity when it comes to your religion. You state that you can bring Christianity into Wicca so long as the principles of Wicca are not violated, but you fail to take into account that a new cultural strain will violate the principles of the previous culture, for instance, Christianity violating the principles of Judaism, and Christian spiritualism violating the principles of Christianity. The only constant is change, and this is something we just have to accept just as human beings. You say you cannot call yourself Wiccan if you violate these 13 principles. However, it is probable that there are many who consider themselves to be Wiccan, who don't understand or practice your 13 principles to the same level or same detail as yourself. You're giving yourself the authority to define who is allowed into your club, and again, committing the no true Scotsman logical fallacy. You say you have a right to defend the integrity of your faith. Surely it is better to defend your path rather than your faith. Now, I do not consider you to be a bigot, but I do consider you to be a rather conservative fundamentalist. You have spoken to me in previous videos about Christians grenade bombing gay bars. I do not accept the idea that it is Christianity that has caused the problem, but fundamentalism. When there is such a well-respected pagan as yourself coming on the camera promoting fundamentalism in Wicca, my blood runs cold, and I wonder what forms of intra-religious violence in paganism wait for us in the future. I will say to you again what I've said before: why become as bad as those you hate? Because I feel fundamentalism in Wicca is moving down the same path as fundamentalism in Christianity. Slowly, but it's getting there. Because if you do become as bad as those you hate, you end up creating the problems that those whom you hate have caused. Also, it is logical fallacies that are used to twist the meanings of words and ideas to create abhorrent activities such as the bombing of gay bars. It has to be seen as wrong to build a culture that is both fundamentalist and whose arguments are based upon logical fallacies in Wicca, which you have assisted in doing in that video of yours. You are storing up problems for your own religion in the future. Now, I want to point out now, I don't feel any animosity against you. I don't feel any hatred against you. But I have spoken to you before of there being problems in Wicca and some need for change. But in that video, you have demonstrated to me that you are happier, somehow more content, somehow it feels more righteous, encouraging some things which are fundamentalist and just plain wrong. There's got to be a solution. Something has to be done. Are you brave enough to do anything about it? Nick Dutch signing out.